What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show with Lori Harder in the house. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm so great. I was just like raving about being in this room right now.
It's exciting. You look amazing with the backdrop. You can't see yourself with the love wall, but you look amazing. So
I need it to follow me.
It's perfect. You've got this book out called A Tribe Called Bliss, Break Through Superficial Friendships, Create Real Connections, and Reach Your Highest Potential. And it's been fun for me to watch this progress over the last year and a half, 2 years since you've been writing it and developing it. And I'm very excited for you. Very excited for you. This type of a book is cool because you're facilitating throughout. There's all these different exercises, and it's an invitation for people to be a part of it with someone else reading it, which I think is really clever. I haven't seen a book do that before, so it's really cool. And you have some powerful stories about relationships and the disconnection between relationships you've had in your life with family, with church relationships, with encounters in the world where you've experienced some hardships, kidnapping, things like that have happened to you. Other crazy things have happened to you. So on the outside looking in, people might look at you and say, well, you're this, beautiful woman who's got everything figured out and put together, but you've really gone through a number of different challenges, which sounds like it's all come together to talk about how we can come together and not feel that disconnection anymore. Is that right?
I think there's been so many things, and I will say, I think from growing up and just experiencing so many different, just a different upbringing than most people were used to.
So you grew up in the Midwest, Wisconsin?
Upper Michigan, actually.
Yeah.
So really, 3 hours from a mall, Lewis.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But for real, it was a tiny town, way up north, Upper Michigan, borderline Canada, and raised in a really restrictive religion. So on top of already being a small town, I'm in a religion where I can't associate with anyone outside of my religion. So being in school was
Unless
challenging.
you're recruiting them to come in.
Right, which was challenging. But when I was
at school you could. I guess you'd be in class with people, right?
I could be in class, but I couldn't do any extracurriculars, or I couldn't go over to their house, nothing outside of it. When I was, and I'm so grateful for my upbringing, I just want to say that, but at the same time, it was challenging. So when kids were doing, different arts and crafts in school around, let's say, Christmas, or they were going to choir and we were singing Christmas songs, I had to sit over to the side and do my own thing.
At the school?
Yes.
Or, so is that your parents, or was that more of the religious rules that you couldn't sit next to these kids?
It was both.
Really?
Yeah, it was both. Because if you're in the religion, that's what you instill in your children, and that's what you do. And to me, that was...
To be separate.
Yes.
To exclude yourself.
Right. So when everyone would stand and do Pledge of Allegiance, I had to sit.
No.
Yes. My whole life.
Wait, you couldn't stand?
No.
So there's 50 other kids in class, or 30, or however many it is,
yes.
and you're the only one seated, or is there a couple other kids in this religion?
No. This is up north. There is no diversity of any sort.
Wow.
So it was just very...
and would kids make fun of you or wonder why you were doing that, or? Yeah,
they started to learn after a while, because you go to school with the same kids the whole time. But what happens is there's a natural they just segregate you because they know they can't do anything with you outside of that. So it was just a very lonely. It was a lonely time. I had friends in the congregation, but even then, it wasn't that many people to choose from. And like I said, I grew up this way, so to me, it was. I sat.
It wasn't bad or anything.
It was challenging, but I thought that I was doing it for such a bigger reason that to me it was always okay, well, there's this life, but I know there's another life. So that was at this is 8 years old. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So to go through that experience at a young age of just always feeling like everyone is always making either fun of you, or they're judging you, or they're going to pick on you.
Yeah.
I developed anxiety, massive panic attacks at a young age, because whenever attention was on me, it was always negative. It was never a positive thing.
Yeah, and not to make right or wrong of a religion or beliefs or something, because, I choose not to drink alcohol and people make fun of me.
Yes.
But I'm also there's a benefit to it of why I don't do it, even though I might be segregating myself from my friends who go to the bars. It helps me in other ways. So, maybe there was a benefit that you guys had with that.
That's what I want to show, is that yes, I grew up that way. No, I'm not in it anymore. I am grateful for what I went through with that, because I now understand people when they just feel like they either don't fit, or, you're getting a lot of rejection or whatever that looks like. But, now looking back, I'm like, wow, that was so different, but it was my life. It was what was just normal to me. And I am so grateful for it. My family's still in it. So that's why I have massive, I'm so grateful for how I grew up, but at the same time, yes, looking back now, it was a challenging thing. And that's also where the book came from, because when I turned 18, that was the only tribe that I knew. So what happens when you leave?
You're alone.
You're alone. And all of the love that I knew was no longer really there, because when you leave, they're not going to, you know, they want you to be in it. Yeah. Right. They want you to be in it. So they're not going to support, obviously, if you're leaving. So I just went, you know, 18 years old, I moved away from home and just went bonkers, because this whole world was open. I didn't even know it existed. So it was like trying to find myself, along with so much guilt and shame and fear from leaving and not knowing if I was doing the right thing. Yet in my soul, I really felt like I was supposed to be following a different path, where it just was more frowned upon to go and do things that were outside of not, you know, just being the religion or recruiting people to come in. Right. So I knew that I wanted to help people.
Because a lot of the purpose of the religion was to bring other members to the religion.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
And I wanted to help transform people through fitness. I knew that, I think a lot like you, Lewis, where it's just, you know, there's something in your soul that you are supposed to go and help people with in a big way. Like, ever since I was a young girl, I could see masses of people that I was supposed to help. Like, I could literally feel them or see them. And I was like, I don't know what it even is. I have no clue. But I started to believe that it was through fitness, because I had created such a transformation in my life through fitness, because my whole family struggled with their weight. You know, I remember my mom and sister going on diets when I was 8 years old, and I went on like the fat-free diet with them because I was chubby. Like, those were just words that were used in my household, and I even talk about it now, and they were like, we're just trying to love you, like tell you, you know, not so you wouldn't get made fun of or whatever it was. But at the time it was just, I'm chubby, I'm not lovable, I'm made fun of in school. And that's why I went to fitness, was because I really believed that if I could change the external, that I could protect myself. And so I spent my whole life thinking that if I just changed how I looked on the outside, that I wouldn't feel the pain of people making fun of me. And so it was like, I almost viewed it as, and I think you'll get this, but like armor. Like, if I just get strong, if I get fit, if I look beautiful, like I'll never be hurt, and that has to be the ultimate. Like, that must be where the confidence is. So fast forward, I start using fitness for that, and I'm, you know, helping transform my life, but I'm also feeling better. Like, I'm noticing that my panic attacks aren't happening as much. I'm noticing that anxiety or that guilt or that fear or that shame is kind of like, when I'm moving my body, I'm feeling like I have more control over it. And I also want to start helping other people with it, because the family that I grew up in really believed that we don't have control over our genetics. Like, it was always like, oh, we have bad genetics. This is this part of the family. This is just how it is.
It doesn't matter the habits we have.
Doesn't matter. This is just weight. Like, that's all I heard. Just weight. You know, it's in our genetics. This is just how we are. Except we were, you know, looking back at the habits, I was like, but I'm having 3 plates of spaghetti every night with 3 bowls of ice cream. No lie.
And 5 Cokes a day. Yeah,
yes. Right. And so, and also that's adding to, we all know now that that's adding to the anxiety, that's adding to like the
You're
depression.
Spiking the sugar up constantly in your day, and
Totally.
So ups and downs constantly, right? Yeah.
Always. And that was, so I started to separate myself even as a teenager.
With your family?
With my family, because I didn't feel good.
Like, how many siblings did you have?
I had one sister at the time. My mom had my brother when I was 14, so there's quite a range. So a baby came into the house as a teenager, you know, and that was just that was another way.
More attention over there.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to go kind of escape and do this fitness thing, because this is the first time I feel in control. Wow. And like, it was also the first time that I really sensed that deep calling. Something about moving your body, we all know this, fitness, sports, whatever that is, you do intense training, you get the downloads. Like, all of a sudden you can see the vision for your life that you're not able to see in a sedentary or like, you know, stuffed place with food. You can't. It's blocking everything. This is the vehicle in which we experience, you know, life and what we're supposed to do in the world. And if you're clogging it and if you're not moving it, we cannot feel that. So that's when I started getting really addicted to moving my body. And so every time I go and move, or when I'd feel like, oh my God, a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of, things going on in my family right now, or a lot of just stressful arguments or things like that, just over finances. We'd always struggled with finances. Or I could feel like a tension in my family. I think every family can feel that. But for me, I would go move my body and be like, okay, there's something bigger. There's something I'm supposed to do. And fast forward into my 20s, that's when I really decided I want to do this for other people. I want to show them that no matter where they're from, that if they move their body, that maybe they can transform, whether it's anxiety or whether it's fear or guilt or shame, that it really lessens when you start to take care of yourself and take care of the vessel that you're in.
And when you left, I guess, the family and the religion, because you left the religion at 18 as well, did you find it was hard to build relationships with people outside of that world? Were you having a challenge with that, or was it easy for you to form connections?
Well, for me, what happened is there were a couple girls who I also were in my religion that we all moved out together, but we were kind of all going through this same. I lived alone for a little while and then moved in with them not long after that. We were all kind of going through the same challenges together.
So you had a good relationship with those?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it good.
An understanding.
Yes, I would call it like we were all trying to find ourselves, and it just turned into we were 18 years old, drinking like 6-7 nights a week. I think we were just numbing. I think we didn't know who we were. We didn't know what we wanted. We just were like, imagine being held like a spring and then being like, the world is open. Yeah. It was almost too much. It was like, I remember being in these really just dark moments where I'm like, I can't live this way. I can't keep drinking every day. And I was working 3 jobs at the time. And because I was just spending that money as fast as it was coming in as well. And I remember just being so depressed every morning because you're hungover, you don't feel good. And at the same time, my soul just started screaming at me. Like, you cannot live this way anymore. Like, this is not working. This is not acceptable. You have to go and do something. Thankfully, at the same time, I was still fitting in some form of exercise, and that was like my only lifeline to myself or to what I knew could be better than that. And so fast forward a bit, and they're just with the roommates and with just that lifestyle, it really was starting to implode, and it was like we were just digging ourselves into a hole. Really bad things were happening. I had, thousands of dollars in parking tickets and just horrible bills were piling up. Things were going really bad really quickly. So what happened is I ended up moving home with my tail between my legs. And it was like, which moving home meant also abiding by those rules again.
Oh my gosh.
So I found myself, but I had to do it. I knew that I had to go backwards in order to go forwards again. And I knew that I had to go home to clean my life up. It was so incredibly ugly. So I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, can I just get a job with you? So he's like, oh, absolutely. You can come and build kitchens and bathrooms with me again. Wow. So that's what I went home, built kitchens and bathrooms, was sleeping in my younger brother's bedroom with dinosaur and Star Wars figurines all over. And I just remember waking up and being like, my life has hit the ultimate low. And from there, I just thought I can really start cleaning it up here, and I started moving into fitness, started knowing that I wanted to help transform women's lives. That's when I also met my husband. We had a lot of stuff go on there as well. But I knew that I wanted to open a gym. I knew that I wanted to help women really find themselves. And what happened, though, is I opened a studio, trained all these different women.
In Michigan?
This was now in Minneapolis because there was about 9 moves in between all of that.
Okay.
So now I'm in Minneapolis. I'm married, which happened really quickly. And then I'm training all of these different women and getting incredible results. Like, it happened very fast when I decided to finally step in. Like, when I said yes to all of these things and just put my head down, it was like all of these beautiful things were happening. But I found I was not able to truly change their lives if we weren't talking about their mindset or what was actually stopping them from maybe getting this outcome that they thought that they wanted. And that's when I started implementing all of the mindset stuff, because we could be working out, some of my clients were working out 5 days a week and nothing would be changing unless they were changing up here. So then I found that when we really started shifting and talking about mindset during the workouts, it was like all of a sudden we didn't even have to work as hard. It was just they were getting these incredible, we know this, we were getting these incredible outcomes without having to work as hard. So I thought, okay, I can't even be talking just about fitness anymore. And I was finding in my life, I was craving just massive personal development, because even though I had done all of these different things in fitness and had started winning different fitness world championships, it was like all of a sudden I realized I wasn't happy. Like I wasn't as happy as I could be.
Achieving what you wanted, but you weren't happy.
Yeah.
What was missing?
Fulfillment of just friendships, tribes, self, connection, really looking at what was the next thing for me, like what was the next thing that I was supposed to be doing, and
you felt like you had a lack of relationships. You had your husband and some surface relationships or your clients, but not a real tribe. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. So what happened for me is that I ended up feeling like my validation came from being a coach or being the fixer or helping people. And I found that I wasn't willing to be in relationships with people unless I could help them.
Right.
Because
you didn't want to just hang out.
No.
Have fun.
No. I only felt validated if I could help them, because I went from, not that's how I was receiving love at the time, was either achievement or being able to help. So I then looked and said, well, I'm attracting these people because I'm actually not allowing them to come into my life. Like I wasn't allowing myself to be vulnerable at all. They would say to me like, Lori, how are you? And I'd be like, great, I'm all good. Like, how are you? What can we help you with? Right. So I looked around at my life and I thought, at first I took the victim mindset and I was like, who are all these people? They don't even ask me how I am. This is, I feel like I'm pouring myself out. I'm always so exhausted when I'm done talking to these people. Why is that? And I looked for a long time thinking that I was just attracting these people who were, and for lack of, I know people will understand this, but like sucking the life out of you.
Takers, yeah.
Yes. But I realized it was how I was showing up in the relationship. So I talk so much about that in the book, because we can't get the relationships we want without examining ourselves. So I looked around at my whole life and I had this beautiful community, but I was always the leader or I was always the coach. And I had just made it that way. I had created this beautiful community, but no support for myself.
But it also sounds like you didn't open up and share how you were feeling.
I was never getting vulnerable enough.
So maybe they asked a couple times and they stopped asking because you never opened up.
I never opened up. I carried the story. Because in my life with my family, I always wanted to be the peacekeeper. I never wanted to rock the boat. I never wanted to be the person who was, putting stress on someone, because there was so much stress around me that I always wanted to be the person who was fun or funny or helping or whatever that looks like. But I woke up in this life that I had worked so hard to create, and I was so lonely. It was like I had achieved all of these beautiful things, and no one would believe that you're sitting at home alone, like completely isolated and lonely. And I'd taken myself as far as I could go. I could achieve things. I could achieve things in fitness. I could achieve some things in business, but it's like I could never get to this next level that I wanted, and also this fulfillment that I was actually looking for in any of my relationships, to be honest. Even in my marriage, it was like, because I didn't have the outside sources to also connect with, I was relying so much on my husband to fulfill every need for me that he was feeling pressured.
Yeah. Sounds exhausting.
We were both exhausted. And you don't realize that that's happening in your life or in your relationships, because I feel like it's, number one, it's not talked about much. And you find this person that you're supposed to be with for the rest of your life, and you think they're meant to be everything for you. And that's literally, now I have so many different tribes, because I know who to go to if I want to just analyze the crap out of, this thing over here, or spirituality, or whatever this looks like. And that is no longer for my husband. And what happens is, we have these different people in our life, and we feel like if they don't want to do that thing with us that we feel is so important right now, that it's a bit of a sense of rejection from them. And then we're not allowing them to show up as the people that they're meant to show up as in our lives. So it's like, yes, we have these beautiful like lead characters in our life, these beautiful main characters, but then we have this supporting cast. And without the supporting cast, the lead character cannot show up the way they're supposed to, ever. So I now know who my supporting cast is for all of these other conversations that I want to have. And I don't hold these expectations for my girlfriends either. And I used to, because I used to kind of go into female relationships with this best friend checklist. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. Meaning I wanted this woman to be the woman who would be adventurous with me, who would want to, talk about everything analytical with me in the world, who would want to fitness, meditation, mindset, who if I was writing a book, they needed to be writing a book so that we could actually, be together doing this thing. If I was running events, I wanted to make sure this woman was running events so we could talk about that. If I was doing this business, I want to make sure that we're connecting over this. Like, it's almost like you don't know you're doing it, but you want them to be connected on every level or shared similar interests so you can talk about these similar things. And, I've been in so many relationships where I can actually feel people having those expectations as well. And also, the way that I used to think that I needed a relationship in my life, it was like, okay, well, she needs to be there for, maybe we need to talk on the phone, or we need to text this much, or we need this much communication. People have no idea of these unannounced expectations that we all have. So what happens is, sooner or later, usually sooner, we let them down, or they let us down. We don't talk about it, and we either end up leaving them, they leave us, or we don't talk,
or
and we just kind of let it turns into something super passive aggressive.
And is that why you talk about the 7 sacred agreements?
That's exactly why I wrote the 7 sacred agreements, is because I have had, I've screwed up so many relationships. And when I say screwed up, it's all been beautiful work for me. I'm so grateful for all of them. But I've done it so many times where I've looked at women and been like, well, I'm just super let down because she didn't show up for me here.
I asked for something and she couldn't make it. Or she didn't show up for me, but really there might have been something else. Except
when I look back at my language, it was, don't worry about it. This is fine.
And then you were resentful still.
And then I'm like, how could she not know this was huge for me? Like, why wouldn't she show up? So
you didn't communicate how you felt.
I did not communicate. So the book is literally all communication, including scripts. And it's also looking back at every single time that you've had a moment of miscommunication, looking at yourself.
Yeah, breakdown.
Because there's no way that we can get these beautiful relationships in our life without looking at, are we ready to be the people who can handle these relationships and who know how to verbally show up in these relationships? Because it's all communication, all of it.
Everything.
So much of it has come from my marriage of learning how to communicate. Like, Chris and I have the tough conversations. And I've been able to translate that into my girlfriends, the relationships that I have in my life as well. And now we have really honest, open communication.
With your girlfriends?
With my girlfriends and with my husband. But we have conversations within my girlfriends and my tribes that are like a little bit shocking. Like, they're...
With your girlfriends?
Yes.
Like, give me an example. Without saying someone's name, I guess.
Okay, so recently I had a friend who had said, I know that you, she was like, now this is just how I feel right now, so we all have an agreement not to take things personally, that it's a really open space, so we just say how we feel and kind of let it settle, and then we'll speak on it.
That's agreement 4, right?
Yes. And she had said, I know that you might assume that we know that we're invited to all of your stuff, but when I did not get personally invited, I actually felt left out.
Ooh.
And I was so blown away because I didn't realize that I did not invite this person, and they're so close to me that I was like, oh my gosh. And I just looked at her and I was like, I am so sorry. I so understand that. And so instead of her sitting and saying, getting really upset with me or feeling really left out, she came to me and told me that. And I said, I'm so grateful you brought that to my attention, because I realize I'm doing that in some other areas too.
Sure.
And it was not easy for me to hear because she was hurt. But then we talked about it, and I said, here's where I'm coming from. I'm so sorry I didn't express it. I just assumed, which I know is an assumption is always going to create something that's not awesome.
Yeah.
And it was so much better on the other side of that. But these are just small things that I'm so glad she expressed, And we hold a lot of space for each other, and there's also, it teaches you how to actually just hold space for people and what that actually looks like, instead of thinking that you have to show up as a coach, or you always have to say the right thing, or what if I don't have the right thing to say, or what if they take my advice and it's not right, like all of these things that come up. And instead it really teaches you just how to be a guide and hold space for people, because I've never seen good examples of being a good friend. I had never known it, because my mom didn't have a lot of friends. She really didn't have any growing up. You know, she was always just family. And I certainly didn't see it in my life, you know, as a teenager. So I just assumed the way that my friendships were growing up were how they
Everyone
were.
did it, and how it's supposed to be.
We just kind of all treated each other like crap. I'm just being honest.
Gossip behind each other's back, and
just painful stuff. Like, and until you...
Why are we so painful towards each other, you think?
Just wanting, I think we all just want love, and I think we all just want to feel significance, and I think it's just fear. I think we're afraid. Like, honestly, looking back at any of the reasons why I've gossiped or hurt people is typically because I was either trying to bond with a certain group,
or to protect yourself.
or to protect myself, and I'm attacking them back. Or another big one is, you know, I think that in the past we used to think there was only one spot at the top too. So if another woman had a spot, it meant you didn't get a spot. And I've actually been told that by people. So this is just a whole new idea that when a woman goes to the top, she actually doesn't, there's not one, what she does is looks around and bulldozes and makes more spots. It's like, I believe that when a woman who is doing all of this work and these agreements, it's not just about one spot. Like, we don't even want to be alone anymore. Like, we want to take everyone with us.
It's exhausting too.
It's exhausting, it's not fun, it's miserable. It's like the whole reason we're doing this is our relationships. The whole point of this life is relationships. And if you get to the top and you are disconnected, we know what happened. We live in LA, we see it happen. Like, you can have everything, and people can, you know, do horrible things to themselves, do horrible things to other people, sabotage, because we are meant to be deeply connected. And even I have some research in there, just UCLA studies just on how people who are living the longest, happiest, healthiest, disease-free lives are the ones who feel most deeply rooted and connected in their communities. And it's, you know, especially with women, when women get together, it's like even our bodies release oxytocin when we're together. I mean, and that is a stress reducer. It helps with disease. It's crazy. So to think that just even being in the room in a good, you know, in a good energy with someone is like actually healing our bodies. It's showing that women's friendships are actually making us healthier.
Does it have to be positive connection, or can it be deep negative connection as well that helps us live longer?
No, I don't think it's deep negative connection.
So it's got to be a positive connection.
Yes, positive connection.
Gotcha.
It's feeling connected, deeply connected. Supported.
Okay, gotcha. 2 of the agreements, one is always be your own guru. And what does that mean if you don't trust yourself?
What does it mean if you don't
How do you always be your own guru with the agreements? You know, it's like, does that mean be your own guru with a relationship that you're in with someone in your tribe?
So the 7 agreements are running parallel to it's always self-work that shows up also in relationship work, because both agreements are gonna play on both, right? So you could take you could take all 7 agreements and only apply them to your life and still live an epic life and find, you know, how amazing that is for your life. But also in relationships, how you show up is going to impact the way that this relationship is being reflected back to you, right? Because no matter if you show up in a place of need or of lack, that person's going to reflect that back to you in that relationship. So it's always about knowing that no matter what, at the end of the day, you always know best for you. So sometimes in relationships, what we can do, especially as females, is rely so much on someone or take someone's advice or then be upset or feel like we always need to be coaching people as well. And it's kind of like knowing how to both show up as individuals and guide each other and hold space, because at the end of the day, we know that we are the ones who always know best for us.
Yeah, we have the answers,
Yes.
And then what's the F yourself and everyone else agreement?
So that's forgiveness.
Ooh, yep.
You're like, what is this one? This one stands out a lot.
It's good.
Forgiveness, because if we're, you know, a lot of times we try to go into these new relationships with female friends, especially, you know, when I first moved to California, it was like I had this whole world of now it's open and I want to build a new community here. And it wasn't until I could really let go of some things in my past with different women or things that have happened, or, you know, I've been really hurt through gossip at one point in my life. And so as I entered into every relationship with a woman, I had this little asterisk of, don't tell too much, they're going to hurt you. So that's the whole vulnerability thing, where I always, as a protectant, I would show up as the leader or the coach. Okay, well, you know what I can do? I can form a workout on the beach, like community, awesome. Except I'd go, you know, work everybody out or do this communal thing where I'd maybe put them through meditation or whatever I was good at, and I'd go home and I'd sit on the couch and be like, that was really fun, but I'm exhausted again. Now, those things are really fulfilling if you also have this other portion of actually being able to deeply connect with someone.
Yeah, after the workout, you're not just going home, but you're like going for a walk, or you're going to get, you know, lunch or coffee afterwards with a small group, or.
Right, and you're also able to process your own feelings and your own stuff. So, and women are so verbal. Like, we have to verbalize it. If we don't verbalize it, like, we're going to verbalize it somewhere else. Right. Or it's going to go on Facebook. Like, right. So I think that's just it's really looking at how crazy is it that because I didn't forgive this person back here because of maybe gossip or whatever was happening, it was blocking me from getting into this relationship, because it was blocking me from being vulnerable, because I was projecting that this woman was going to do the same thing to me without knowing any of it, and we're not talking about any of it. So now, so the book is such a facilitator, and it actually, I just texted someone the other day, because I'm so open with who I am now and how I am and what I want out of the relationship, or what my expectation is, allowing them to also tell theirs, that I texted this woman. I'm like, you know, I think you're amazing. I love what you do. I would love to connect with you more. But I know that you're super busy right now. Let me know whenever you're available. Like, I always let them off the hook. And I just said, you know, I say how I feel like a third grader now, because I find this works the best. Right. And it was just like this beautiful opening to, wow, when we say how we feel, like, I'm totally into you, you know? Amazing.
Or I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know either way really quickly.
And I've had massive rejection as well, so.
Sure. Yeah, they may not be ready for it. It may not be your tribe, I guess, right?
Exactly.
What do you think makes a great friend and a great tribe? What attracts you to the right people?
I don't think it's what attracts you to the right people. I think it's what attracts the people to you. I think it's you showing up as fully you as possible, and that's the work that is going to go down when you do this. It's about how much can you step more into being you, so that you are putting out the bat signal for your perfect tribe. When you show up like that, you will know who to connect with, because they'll come into your space. They'll start showing up on your Instagram. They'll start showing up in your workout class. And you'll feel it. You'll feel like a natural pull to them. Mm-hmm. But I feel like whenever I've tried to fit in anywhere, because I used to believe that. I used to think that even in order to make it in fitness, I have to fit in with this group. In order to make it in a spiritual community, I have to go over here. In order to get my book out into the world, I have to go over here. Except every time I'd be trying to fit into these groups, it wasn't working. Right. And so that's completely where this came from, is because I thought, you know what, I really believe that when the energy's not there, or when you continue to keep trying to get in somewhere, that's our sign that you are meant to go develop your own tribe. You are meant to go develop your own community. You're meant to go do your own thing and go bring this up all together. So it's not about fitting in. If it's not working, it's because you're not meant to be there. You're meant to go form something else.
Once you've gone through a lot of the processes, because maybe you're meant to be there and you haven't come to figure out the 7 sacred agreements, you haven't done other stuff, you haven't like been your authentic self.
And you will know it. You will know it.
Yeah.
So believe me, there's times you have to show up in the rooms in order to, you know, learn, and in order to be around those people. I do it all the time. I have to do that. But if you're thinking that the only way to be successful is to get in with this group, because at the end of the day, my God, it's like all about, it's almost like going back to high school, even though I was homeschooled through high school, but I can imagine it was the same thing, like thinking that in order to just be happy in life, that you have to fit in with this group over here, be in the popular group, and it's like you need to learn and you need to be in these rooms, but if something is not working relationship-wise, it might be that you're meant to go and create other relationships and find this other group that you're meant to bring all up together or do it together. And it kind of reveals itself through the process. And sometimes you are meant to be in those groups, but you'll know.
Yeah. What's the lesson you think you still haven't learned about yourself throughout this process?
Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, they're every day right now. They're coming in hot. So I think right now my lesson is just massive surrender, because it's very easy for me to try to want to get results in a certain way. And those results just are not, the way that I have known before is not feeling good. So that is my sign to just keep on figuring it out.
Yeah.
I mean, right when you think you've figured something out, I feel like a newborn baby all over again, because I don't know. Like that's the fun though. I think that's just the work, is going, wow, you think you know and you just have no clue.
Right. Any questions coming in from YouTube? Just curious, are you able to see any?
People are loving it, actually. Someone did ask, did your husband ever get resentful of your success?
Well, he was successful for a long time himself. But then what ended up happening is that he lost his job, which then had us lose everything. We short sold our home, we lost our cars, we were $300,000 in debt, which back in the Midwest was like $3 million in debt. And so that was actually a moment that was a really rock bottom moment for our relationship. And I watched him start to lose his identity because he was so attached to being successful and to being able to take care of everyone. And at that point, though, I just had this moment of, wow, this is my opportunity to step into everything and to really, I had to face my fears because he was the only breadwinner, and I was like, I can't allow this person to crumble in front of me and be this stressed out and not think that it's my responsibility as well, because I was just working part-time. So at that time, I think what happened is, instead of any resentment about me being successful, he was like, go babe, like let's do this together.
Supportive,
so but even so, when he even kind of took a back seat and helped me with my business, he's never been resentful ever that I know of, because nice. I think of how it all played out. And honestly, I feel like if there has been, we've been so open with conversation, because Chris and I have a commitment to walk every single day. So that's on those powerful. Walks, it changes the game. Like, yes, we've been resentful for the day, and then we go for a walk and we fight for a while, but then we clear it. So have we been resentful? Absolutely. We've both been resentful of each other, wanted to argue or drive each other nuts. In fact, there was a time when he came home and started working with me that I was like, we made a mistake. Like, I married the wrong guy. He's a total jerk. Like, and we talk about it all the time. But sure. If we would not go for these walks and have this commitment to talk it out, it's not fun either, but you have to learn a new language with everyone. But
it's easier to talk about it, the hard conversations, when you do it 30 days in a row.
For sure.
The more, you've been doing it for years now, so it's probably a lot easier to say something really uncomfortable, because you know you're not going to die. Or you're not gonna break up right away. Like, yes. You know that fear is not there. Like, sure, you might feel pain for 5 minutes, but you've done it so many times that now it's probably almost like, if we don't go there, something's wrong.
That's exactly what it is.
If we're not talking about something weird or uncomfortable, then like, what are you not telling me? Right?
What are you hiding?
What are you hiding? Like, exactly. Can't be this perfect. You know?
Exactly. I love that you just brought that up, because I think that, we're resistant of having the tough conversations in our female relationships, in our relationships in general, in life, with our parents, whatever it is, because we're not used to that spike in emotions, because it feels like it's this tidal wave coming at us.
End of the world feeling.
Totally. Yeah. But what happens is, and I just had one of the toughest conversations in my life with my mother like 2 weeks ago, and it's this spike, right? It's like I had to do the Mel Robbins, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no lie. Like, I was like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dial, or you're never doing this. Yeah. Like, I was like, wanted to throw up. So it's a tidal wave, but what happens is, the second you start getting it out, it's literally 30 seconds to a minute, it clears and you're on the other side.
You feel so much better when you're done.
So much better.
Biggest weight.
Even 30 seconds in, though. So it's just that first spike of beforehand, that it's like all the resistance is right here, right now. You guys, if we would start having these tough conversations more often, your whole life changes. Like, your entire life changes and things just start coming to you, because it's all about understanding that we are all so different. We're bringing in a million different things from our past, and we're bringing it into this moment right now, and we don't even know it. Like, everything I'm perceiving about you is because of what I've perceived from my past. And it's not until I verbalize how I feel, if something's a block with me, that you would ever even know that, you know, maybe tall men scare me.
Sure.
But for real.
For a lot of women, it does.
And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, for a lot of women,
they don't scare me. But I'm just saying, like, anything simple like that we're bringing into the moment, and there's so many things, you know, layers that we don't even realize we're showing up as, or we're carrying with us, that is blocking a connection if you're not speaking.
Do you think women have tough conversations with each other on a daily basis, like girlfriends around America? Do you think they're saying the things that they're afraid of or uncomfortable with, or that they're challenged with that relationship? Or in general, is it more surfacey, gossipy type of conversations from your experience?
So doing this book has sent me on a journey of asking questions. You know, and I do the Bliss Project event, which is like 500 women in a room, and we share a lot in there. So 500 women from all over the world, and I've done this now 6 years, and it's kind of, I take the temperature every year, same thing. So we are all afraid of each other, because we don't want to hurt it. It kind of goes against the good girl perception of, if you say how you feel, that could hurt someone. So we tend to internalize everything, and we feel like if we just kind of close it down, shut it down, that we will just let it be okay, you know, for that time being. And I think that the idea of having tough conversations, you know, this reflects even in business for all of us. It's like we're scared to have these tough conversations. We're scared to hurt people. We're scared to say how we feel, because we could really, you know, what if we're not friends anymore? We think that we're supposed to have these friends, and they're supposed to be our lifelong friends. And that is a huge disempowering belief as well.
Because then you got to hold on to something that maybe is 10, 20 years outdated. Or that no longer serves either of you.
Yes. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of women who are like, yeah, but these are the women who I grew up with and I was in a sorority with. I'm like, you're never going to move forward. You're carrying all of them back here, and you're evolving and becoming a new person. Like, every single day, if we're doing it right, we should have someone say to us, you know, you've changed. I'll be like, heck yeah, hallelujah, because I'm growing. I want to become a different person. And I think we're dragging all of these people behind us, and we're dragging all of these stories and all of this stuff, and we're showing up and we're exhausted, and we're trying to meet each other, and we're like, oh my God, that's in the women who are maybe doing the work or who are really ready to connect. If you're carrying all that, they're not ready to connect with all of that either. So if you want to show up in these relationships that you desire, you have to look at what you're bringing in to that moment with you.
Yeah, I've always found it like challenging with this, because I've had lots of friendships through like high school and college and just, you know, my 20s and things like that I no longer talk to 99% of those individuals. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate or care for them, or, you know, I'll see a notification on Facebook and send a message every once in a while, but I'm not thinking I need to stay in touch with this person monthly or reach out all the time, because they're not doing the same for me either, and we've gone on to different things or different locations or whatever it may be. And it's not bad or wrong, it's just, you know, my relationships are evolving and theirs are as well. And I think it's important to remember where we've come from and the people who have supported us and the people who raised us and all those things, but also doesn't mean we have to owe our lives to being connected to them 24/7 or
I
continuously,
totally agree.
you know.
I think there's actually I think that we have signs in our body. I think that we are I think we're spiritual beings in a physical body, and I think that we're experiencing in our physical body where we're meant to be going, what we're doing. You know, a lot of us, we don't even realize how intuitive and connected and how much we actually know and where we're supposed to go. And I think what happens is, you know, because how many times have you said, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or, oh, I had a gut feeling about that. And hello, all of the time. And to say that we don't know and we don't feel it in our body, like my solar plexus tells me more than I want to know sometimes. I'm just like, oh my God, my stomach, what is going on here? Like, this is, okay, maybe this isn't the relationship for me, or maybe this is,
or I just have another conversation or whatever.
Totally, or something needs to come up. Like, your body is always trying to tell you something. So for me, when it's relationships, it's like if the energy has left the building, like if there is just nothing there anymore, I really believe that that is our sign that that contract with that person has been fulfilled. And it's time to move towards the energy. Like the energy will always guide you, and that's always what I'm going for, is where am I feeling most alive?
Yeah.
And who am I feeling the most alive around? Now, it doesn't mean I don't go and talk to these other people sometimes, because they're fantastic, and I love, you know, obviously giving back and doing different things like that, but majority of your time needs to be spent where the life is, where the energy is, and it has never let me down. It has never done me wrong.
Yeah.
And it's always my sign that maybe that particular time and contract is fulfilled over here, you know.
Right, yeah. We may leave relationships, but they may also come back to us at another time. You know, relationships that I had 10 years ago, I'm finding some of them are actually coming back around, and we are aligning on certain things.
Totally.
Where we are disconnected at one point, but now we've both come back to a certain place, and it's like, okay, we're stronger than ever now. I think that may happen too. You don't have to be consistent forever with someone. You can leave for a bit, you can take a pause, you can come back to it and keep assessing the situation.
Totally. That actually, so something similar happened with my family, and I know that so many people are in this place of...
Right, you left your family, came back, right, things like that. Yeah.
I wasn't prepared to, so in order for me to become the person that I knew that I was supposed to be, in order for myself to stop the lack mindset, in order for me to really start thinking that I was able to make money or become something or, you know, fulfill my dreams, I had to leave.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the most challenging things for people to hear. And some people even say it's not right, except I know if I would have stayed, every time I went back to the, oh, I can't do this, or you're right, or oh yeah, that's right, none of us have been able to do it, so why am I able to do it? Or life is hard, money is hard to make, life, you know, life is a challenge, this is what it looks like. I had to pull so far outside of that in order to now be able to go back in order to like hold my ground. I had to get strong on my own in order to be able to still maintain my personality and my beliefs around them. Otherwise, I was not the person who could do that.
So many of us stay in a family or relationships that hold us back. Especially family. It's like hard to leave family.
Oh man, it's the hardest.
It's the hardest, because then the guilt, the shame, the everything.
I was just like, I thought I was the worst person ever for so long.
Yeah.
And now I can see that I was meant to do it, because now I'm helping my whole family. And now they're kind of coming over and seeing, wow, this is amazing. How did you do this? Or now they're all like getting healthy. You know, they're all trying to get healthier, and I know they're all really into looking at how they can grow. You know, and what really makes somebody happy and things like that. They're still kind of doing some of their stuff, you know, the old stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But it's an open conversation now that has taken, you know, 15 years, but it's an open conversation now. And I will say, if I didn't leave, and if we didn't start agreeing to have tough conversations and let it be okay, even though it's painful and there's tears and we cry and we fight sometimes, there would be no conversation. There would be no conversation. Yeah. So
I think sometimes the only way to be really connected is to disconnect for a while.
That's my story.
And then be able to come back to it. And that's the scariest thing, is to disconnect, because you feel like you may have ruined the relationship forever. But I've had so many instances where I've been in I've been in fist fights with guys that I wanted to literally destroy. And then 4 years later, we're friends. Yeah. And it's like, how did that even happen? You know, but sometimes you just had to get things out and move on and disconnect. And then you're like, oh, I was an idiot. You know, it's like, I see things differently now. Yeah. And we can come together stronger. So powerful stuff. A Tribe Called Bliss. Break through superficial friendships, create real connections, reach your highest potential. Where can we get the book?
You can go to, look at that book in your hands. That's so exciting.
Nice, right? It's very nice.
You can go to atribecalledbliss.com to grab the book, find out more about the book, see all the tour spots, all sorts of fun stuff.
You're going on tour?
I'm going on tour.
Where are you going?
I'm going to LA, which I
I'm here.
I'm just targeting you. LA, Boston, New York, Minneapolis, Toronto, and I think we're gonna do a Phoenix. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm super excited.
What's the thing you're most excited about with the book?
I've already given copies to people who have started tribes, and they've said they've never felt more connected to this, like, human beings in their entire life than they do in these groups.
That's great.
So
Are you creating an online tribe too for people who are reading the book?
Yes. So that is at A Tribe Called Bliss on Facebook. And my goal is 1 million tribes, because imagine what these women can do in the world having these agreements and living their life like that.
Wow.
Learning how to treat each other again. It's a new way to treat each other.
1 million tribes. What consists of a tribe? 2 people, 5 people, 10 people?
It's 2 or more.
2 or more.
2 to 3 is like perfect. 4 is great. 5 is tough to keep it at an hour because there's actual rules to it.
Oh, it's like a whole structure.
It's a whole structure if you want to do
for
it.
building building the tribe.
Like once or twice a month you can pick.
Got it. Amazing. Amazing. What else should we need to know? Anything else? What else do you want to say?
What else do I want to say? I want to say that it's just so beautiful. If you really look at where your life is guiding you, it's always just so surreal and so unique. But you need to pay attention to all of the little signs and all of the miracles in your life and see where it's guiding you. Because right now, just sitting in this chair, I'm like, how did this happen? But it was paying attention to so many little things, like tribe. Wow, that's what I'm missing. Okay, follow that. Okay, now share that. So sharing I really believe that our whole mission here is to not only connect with human beings, but to go through your struggle and share the way that you got through. And that's the most fulfilling thing. It's the whole purpose. It's the whole point. And connect with different people while you're doing it.
And if you want to read about the stories of some of your biggest struggles, they're in the first few chapters of you getting kidnapped and the religious struggles and everything else. So if you guys want to learn more about that, go read the book, get the book. Some crazy stories that you told me. So what's your 3 truths then?
Oh man.
I'm curious.
I was like, my 3 truths. Okay, I'm just gonna take a breath here. 3 truths. There's only love. There's only love. Whenever I go into fear, because I'm going into fear a lot right now, I'm visiting it more often. I go right back to love and I get the answers and I remember why. Connection is the key to happiness. And purpose, creating your purpose is the opposite of depression. Those are my 3 truths.
Ooh, I like that last one a lot. Because most people are depressed because they don't know what they want to do, or why they're here, or their purpose, right?
Creating your purpose. Like, I have to create it every day, because even this, what do I do now when this is done, right? Got to create a whole other reason.
Reason to wake up, right?
Yeah, because I thought this was it, and it's not it. I'm already thinking of what's after this, because I don't want to wake up like, oh, whether it fails or whether it does amazing, it doesn't matter. I want to be on to creating the next reason why I'm here.
Is there ever enough?
I think enough is just following your bliss. I think there's always enough in this moment, while equally running parallel to not enough. I think it's always like finding while being present, like seeking while being present.
Because I think sometimes, especially with females, you see that they sometimes they don't want you to keep pushing harder. It's like, why don't you just relax and live in balance, right? I don't know, maybe I see that, but is that true or no?
I think it can be with some people, for sure. I see that in some
like driven
friendships, for
entrepreneurs,
sure, absolutely. And I get asked that a lot, like, what will be enough for you? And
like, is there a number for you?
No. I mean, that doesn't exist. It's not a number, and it's not a dollar amount, and it's not a thing. It's what's happening in here right now. Like, what message is coming through for me right now? Because sometimes there's nothing, and that's a sign for me that's like, oh, maybe I need to just relax and chill and go get creative. Like, I'm going to do that actually all of July, and just go and be and do and disconnect and, like, see the world. Because I can feel that coming. Like, you need to just go be out in the world. But then there's other times that I feel like I have got to ride what's going on inside. Like, there's so much energy pulsing through my body that's like, this has got to come out, and this is now. And this is like a download that is right now, and you got to get it out. So I'm super open to the idea that everyone's just on a totally different path of, you know, maybe you're here to always be striving. Maybe you're here to be more enjoying. Maybe you're here to, so if we could all accept that and kind of just communicate about it, like, no, you don't get it. I'm not happy unless I'm doing this. Now, you can always be, you know, have those friends who can kind of guide you and be like, well, is that because you're never fulfilled, or is that because that's truly something you love? And that's what I'm always looking at with me. I'm being really honest. Like, is it because I'm always seeking love because I didn't feel it when I was younger? Or is this really because this is a message? I'm always getting really real with myself and asking that. And sometimes, yeah, I'm totally seeking validation. And I'm totally seeking love. And I totally feel like if I hit this that I would be more loved. But then at the same time, I know that that's not true either. So I have to always say, is this worth it? Like, I've had to let go so many times with this book.
I know.
So many times. Just because, you know, I think that if something happens with it, that it's going to be a certain way, and it's just not. I can go back to my whole past, and it's just not. So. Well,
I'm so inspired by you, Lori. You've done an amazing job with this, and it's been fun to connect over the last couple of years and learn more about your process and seeing you. I think, you know, from the outside looking in, before I met you, I think it was 2.5 years ago, you looked like you had it all put together.
That's
from the image of you, right? Right?
Yeah.
And I think some people might see that. You look like you have it all put together from the outside. But the more I got to know you, I realized that there's just so much depth. And I think that you sharing more of that really is helping so many other women in the world. So I acknowledge you for opening up and sharing all these stories that are really hard to talk about. And especially personal stories with family and sisters and parents and everything. It's really challenging. So I acknowledge you for doing the hard work publicly, because it's going to help so many people. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm just soaking it in.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for you.
Yeah.
You've been such a huge part of that. Like,
sure.
You need your tribe.
My pleasure.
I'm so grateful. Like,
I got you.
You've impacted, affected, accelerated, held space, connected, kept me really grounded, like, helped me remember what's real along it. Like, and I'm so grateful that you run towards your dreams.
Yeah.
Because it's such a reminder to me why it's important for whoever you are, or us Midwest kids, to be like, we can do it too.
Sure, sure.
So thank you.
My pleasure. A tribe called bliss.com.
Yes.
Lori Harder on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Go follow her, get the book, check it out, spread the love. You're amazing. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
It's great.